Hi students, you must have observed, that when you focus a magnifying glass placed in sunlight on a piece of paper, then at a certain position of the magnifying glass, the paper starts burning. Have you observed this phenomenon? You can even try it, in broad sunlight. Why does this happen? This happens due to a special phenomenon called refraction. Refraction is also the cause for the bending of a pencil, apparent bending when it's placed in water. Why does the pencil appear bent? How does light travel through a glass slab? All this is what we will study in the chapter called Refraction of Light. What is refraction? Let's move on and understand more about it. So first of all, let's understand what refraction is in the first place. The bending of light when it travels from one medium to another is called refraction. So when there are different media, like there is glass, air, water, wood, when light travels from one medium to another medium, it bends, and this bending of light is called refraction. Understood? Refraction is actually responsible for many common phenomena that we see in our daily lives. You must have observed, that if you place some coins in water, then, when you look at those coins appear to be in a different position, compared to their actual position. They appear raised. You can even try that. You can place a coin in a glass of water and then you can try picking up that coin, using your hand. You will be confused, and you will not be able to pick up the coin in the first attempt because the coin appears raised because of refraction when placed in water because of refraction. Similarly, you must have seen that when you place a glass slab over some text and when you try to read the text appears raised. Again, this happens because of refraction. Something like this. In fact, this is another common effect because of refraction. You must have seen that when you place a pencil in a glass of water, the pencil appears broken and bent. Of course, the pencil is not broken. You already know that, isn't it? But this is what happens, when you put a pencil in water. Again, this happens because of refraction. So how do all these effects happen? As we proceed through this chapter, you will slowly understand better, about how exactly refraction causes all these effects. For now, let me give you a vague idea of how refraction, helps in raising a coin, raising letters in a glass slab, and how it deforms a pencil. When you place some coins in water, when do you see an object? You see an object when light from that object reaches your eye. This is the eye, isn't it? Now you will see the coins when the light from the coins reaches your eye. What happens is that the light from the coins comes out like this. This is a ray of light coming out of the coins. Now this ray of light bends because of refraction. If it were moving straight, you would see the coins where the coins exist. But the ray of light bends after refraction and then it reaches your eye. Now the brain, our human brain cannot account for this bending. It doesn't understand refraction. What it does is, it extends the light ray that reaches the eye backwards like this and forms an image here in the water. And that is why, we see coins a bit raised compared to their original position because of refraction. So did you understand what happened? The light ray coming from the coins got bent and our brain projected the bent light ray backwards, and formed an image slightly above the original coins. So it is because, our brain cannot understand refraction that we see coins raised when we place them in water. Understood? Similarly, what about letters? Even in the case of letters, the light rays that are coming out of the letters, beneath the glass slab, get bent as they reach the eye. And the eye extends the light ray that reaches it backwards to form an image of the letters slightly above the original object, slightly above the original position of the letters. Understood? Again, this is what happens in the case of a bent pencil. The light rays coming out from the bent pencil bend before they reach the eye. The brain extends the light ray that reaches the eye backwards and forms a raised image of the pencil. So refraction That is, the bending of light as light travels from one medium to the other is responsible for all these phenomena. Understood? You can see that light here is getting bent as it travels from water to air. Now we have just touched upon the topic of refraction. We've just seen what it is. But already we are ready to solve a problem. Raoul's 1 rupee coin fell in a tumbler of water. When he tried to pick it up, he had trouble picking it up in one go. Can you explain why? This is something I had just talked about. Raoul's 1 rupee coin fell in water. So this is the real position of the coin. Raoul has difficulty picking up the coin, out of the water. That is because light rays come out of the coin and they bend towards the eye like this. The human brain, Raoul's brain, extends the light ray reaching the eye backwards and shows Raoul that this is the position of the coin. In reality, this is not the position of the coin, but Raoul thinks that this is where the coin is located. So he tries to pick up the coin from this position because he sees the coin here. However, there is no coin here, there is only water, and that is the reason why Raoul is unable to pick up the coin in the first attempt, because there is no coin at the position where he sees the coin. There you go. That's our answer. Here's yet another problem. Now Raoul tried another thing. He placed the same coin in a bowl and moved away from the bowl until the coin disappeared from view. Then he poured some water into the bowl and the coin reappeared. How did this happen? What is happening in this question? It seems quite puzzling. What Raoul did was, he took a bowl and he placed a coin in it. The coin has now started disappearing, isn't it? A part of the coin is now not visible to Raoul because the light ray coming from the coin cannot reach Raoul's eye, the straight light ray. Now Raoul fills the bowl with water. When he fills the bowl with water, the light ray coming from the coin bends as it reaches Raoul. The brain extends the image of the light ray reaching Raoul backwards, and Raoul sees the coin now, isn't it? Because though the straight line from the coin is not reaching Raoul's eye, the bent light ray is now reaching Raoul's eye, isn't it? And the bent light ray, when extended backwards, shows Raoul the coin. The coin appears raised, and that is the reason the coin is now visible to Raoul when he's filled the bowl with water. You can really try this experiment in your own house. Fill a small bowl with water, take a shallow bowl and put a coin inside it. Move away from the bowl until you cannot see the coin. Now just stay in your current position and fill the bowl with water. You will suddenly see the coin. That is because the coin appears raised because of refraction of light from the water surface to the air surface. That creates the effect of raising the coin. So there you go. Refraction is quite evident in our daily life. So till now we have studied, what refraction is, and we've looked at some effects of refraction. But exactly what happens when light travels from one medium to another? Let us look at some terms associated with refraction first. This brown medium here, let us say it is one medium, and this green medium here is another medium. Now a light ray is entering the green medium from the brown medium. The initial light ray, which is about to enter another medium, is called the incident ray. So this ray here is the incident ray. If you draw a normal at the point of contact of the incident ray and the green medium, in that case the angle that the incident ray makes with the normal is called the angle of incidence. Understood? So that angle of incidence is represented by the symbol I in this case. You can see here that after refraction, that is after bending, the light ray moves in this direction in the green medium. It moves in such a way that it makes an angle R with the normal, isn't it? This angle is called the angle of refraction. So this is the angle of incidence, I, and R is the angle of refraction. Understood? Both angles are measured with respect to the normal at the point of contact of the two media. Here's the incident ray and here's the refracted ray. There you go. Now what is the relationship between I and R? And how do we, draw all these rays? There are two laws concerning refraction. Just as there were laws of reflection, there are laws of refraction also. Here's the first law of refraction. The incident ray, the refracted ray, and the normal to the interface at the point of incidence lie in the same plane. So this law is very similar to the first law of reflection. Even in the case of reflection, the incident ray, the ray striking the mirror, the reflected ray, the ray coming out of the mirror, and the normal lie in the same plane, isn't it? Like if you draw a sheet of paper, then all these three rays can be drawn in the sheet of paper. You won't have one of the rays perpendicular to the sheet of paper or at an angle to the sheet of paper. You can draw all of these rays in the same plane, including the normal. The second law of refraction says that the ratio of the sine of angle of incidence to the sine of angle of refraction is constant for light of a given color and a given pair of media. This is a very important law of refraction, and it is also called Snell's Law. It basically says that you saw angle I in the earlier figure, you saw angle R in the earlier figure. This law says that sin I by sin R is constant for two given pair of media and for a particular color of light. Let us understand both these laws in a bit more detail. This is what the first law of refraction says. It says that the incident ray, this ray here, the refracted ray, and the normal at the point of contact all lie in the same plane. Here's the second law of refraction. As you can see, the light ray is entering from the brown medium to the green medium. The angle of incidence is I and the angle of refraction is R. Sin I by sin R is constant. That is what Snell's law says, or the second law of refraction says. In fact, sin I by sin R is constant for a given pair of media. So for this brown medium and for this green medium, sin I by sin R is constant. If you have light refracting from air to glass, then for air and glass, the given pair of media, sin I by sin R will be constant. Similarly, for air and water, sin I by sin R will be constant. For water and glass, sin I by sin R will be constant. This constant value is called the refractive index, and it is represented by the symbol N. So you must remember the term refractive index. Understood? Sin I by sin R is refractive index. You must also remember that sin I by sin R is constant only for light of a particular color. This means that if you allow red light to fall on a glass block, and if you allow violet light to fall on a glass block, then sin I by sin R will be different for red light and it will be different for violet light. Understood? So sin I by sin R is only constant for light of a particular color for any two given pair of media. Understood? Generally, if we talk about the refractive index, we talk about the refractive index for white light, the light we see in our daily lives. Understood? So if I say that the refractive index of water with respect to air is 1.33, what I mean is that sin I by sin R when light travels from air to water is 1.33 for white light. Here's the way to represent the refractive index. You see, the refractive index is represented for one medium with respect to another medium. Understood? So when a light ray enters medium 2 from medium 1, in that case sin I by sin R gives us N21, that is the refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1. Understood? So for example, if this green medium is glass and the brown surface around it is air, so the light ray is basically entering glass from air. In that case, the refractive index of glass with respect to air is sin I by sin R. Understood? Or the refractive index of medium 2 with respect to 1 is sin I by sin R. You can also have the reverse situation. You can have a ray of light going from glass to air. A light ray can also enter air from glass, isn't it? It can enter the brown medium from the green medium, medium 2 to medium 1. In this case, the refractive index of medium 1 with respect to medium 2 will be sin I by sin R. Understood? So basically, if a light ray is going from a medium 1 to a medium 2, and the angle of incidence in medium 1 is I and the angle of refraction in medium 2 is R, then sin I by sin R is the refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1. But if a light ray is going from medium 2 to medium 1, the angle of incidence is I and angle of refraction is R, then sin I by sin R is refractive index of medium 1 with respect to medium 2. So the refractive index of the medium in which the light ray is entering with respect to the medium from which the light ray is coming is equal to sin I by sin R. Understood? So this is one important concept that you must remember. As you can see, this is how the refractive index is represented. N12 means refractive index of medium 1 with respect to 2. N21 is refractive index of medium 2 with respect to 1. Sometimes N12 and N21 are not mentioned. Simple values like N2 and N1 are mentioned. So when such values are mentioned, that means that the refractive index of a body with respect to vacuum is being talked about. N1 here represents the refractive index of medium 1 with respect to vacuum. So if air were entering from medium 1 towards vacuum, then sin I by sin R would be N1. Similarly, if air were entering from medium 2 or glass to vacuum, then N2 would be sin I by sin R. Understood? So if only N1 or N2 expressions like that are given, then the refractive index of the medium is being measured with respect to vacuum. In general also, sometimes you're told refractive index of water is 1.33. The refractive index of glass is 1.5. In all such cases, when refractive index of one medium is mentioned and no other medium is mentioned, in that case you will assume that the refractive index is given with respect to vacuum. Understood? Yet another important and interesting fact you must remember is this one. N21, the refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1 is N2 by N1. That is refractive index of medium 2 with respect to vacuum divided by N1, the refractive index of 1 with respect to vacuum. Similarly, N12, that is refractive index of medium 1 with respect to medium 2 is refractive index of medium 1 with respect to vacuum, N1, divided by N2, the refractive index of medium 2 with respect to vacuum. So there are so many concepts, and I'm telling you more and more concepts with each slide. But yes, these are important and you must remember them. In fact, here's yet another concept. You see, until now we haven't learnt about why refraction occurs. Scientists have found out that refraction basically occurs because the speed of light changes as it travels from one medium to another. The speed of light is 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second in vacuum. However, in air, in glass, it is much slower than this. So the speed of light decreases as it enters from vacuum to another medium. In different media, the speed is different. The speed is different for glass, for air, and for water. So refractive index basically represents the ratio of the speed of light in one medium to another. The refractive index of medium 2 with respect to 1 is the speed of light in 1 divided by the speed of light in 2. Understood? And N21 is also N2 by N1. So the speed of light in 1 divided by the speed of light in medium 2 is refractive index of medium 2 with respect to vacuum divided by refractive index of medium 1 with respect to vacuum, N2 by N1. Understood? So if you write N21, then 1, the speed of light in medium 1 will come in the numerator and the speed of light in medium 2 will come in the denominator. Here you can see that light is traveling from medium 1 to medium 2, isn't it? So sin I by sin R represents N21, the refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1. Sin I by sin R also represents the speed of light in 1 divided by the speed of light in medium 2. Understood? So this is yet another phenomenon that you must understand. I know so many concepts in such little time may seem complicated, but then you can rewind the video, replay those concepts one by one and understand what is happening. Similarly, you can say that N12, the refractive index of medium 1 with respect to 2, is the speed of light in medium 2 divided by the speed of light in medium 1, and it can also be written as refractive index of medium 1 with respect to vacuum divided by refractive index of medium 2 with respect to vacuum. You can see here that when 2 is in the numerator for the speed of light, it is in the denominator for the refractive index. When 1 is in the denominator for the speed of light, 1 is in the numerator for refractive index. So you must remember these formulae. Let us take the example of glass and air. So this blue slab you see on your screen is glass. As you can see, an incident ray is entering glass from air. The angle of incidence is I and the angle of refraction is R. In this case, scientists have found that the refractive index of glass is 1.52. The refractive index of air is taken to be approximately 1. The refractive index of bodies is always greater than 1. Understood? And the refractive index of vacuum is assumed to be 1. Now air and vacuum are very similar. The refractive index of air is 1.003. So for all general calculations, we assume that the refractive index of air is the same as that of vacuum. So the refractive index of glass with vacuum is 1.52 and that of air with respect to vacuum is 1. What does this tell you about the speed of light in air and glass? You see, speed of light in glass divided by speed of light in air is refractive index of air divided by refractive index of glass, isn't it? So speed of light in glass divided by speed of light in air is 1 divided by 1.52. That is less than 1, isn't it? Therefore, the speed of light in glass is less than the speed of light in air. In fact, there is a general fundamental that you must remember. The greater the refractive index of a body with respect to vacuum, the lesser the speed of light in that body. So the speed of light is definitely greater in air and lesser in glass. The refractive index of water is 1.33. So the speed of light in water is in between the speed of light in air and glass. Understood? The speed of light in water is greater than that of glass, as the refractive index of water 1.33 is less than the refractive index of glass. In fact, there is yet another term you must remember. I know, quite a lot of terms in this chapter. This term is optical density. When any body has a higher refractive index, it is called optically denser. When any body has a lesser refractive index, it is called optically rarer. Understood? So glass is optically denser than air. Water with a refractive index of 1.33 is also optically denser than air. Understood? So the optically denser the medium, the lesser the speed of light in that medium. Understood? And the greater the refractive index of light in that medium. Similarly, the optically rarer the medium, the greater the speed of light in that medium and the lower the refractive index of that medium. Now, it is not necessary that if you say optically denser or optically rarer, that will also correspond to, whether the medium is dense in reality or not. For example, in this case, yes, glass is definitely denser than air. Glass is a solid while air is a gas, isn't it? However, it is not always necessary that the real density, of a body with high optical density should also be greater than, the real density of a body with less optical density. For example, kerosene is less dense than water. Its density is less than water. However, the speed of light in kerosene is much slower compared to the speed of light in water. Kerosene has a higher refractive index compared to water, and so it is optically denser than water. Understood? So optical density basically corresponds to a high refractive index and a lower speed of light. It has nothing to do with the real density, the density of wood and iron and steel that we talk about in our daily life. So these were some concepts. And yet another important fact you must remember is this. When light travels from a rarer to a denser medium, from an optically rarer to an optically denser medium, the light ray bends towards the normal. Understood? This is an important fact. What this means is that the angle of incidence here, so let's say this brown medium here is a rarer medium, optically rarer. It has less refractive index. Let us say this green medium has higher refractive index. It is optically denser. When the light ray bends from the brown medium to the green one, it bends towards the normal. Understood? Where this is the normal. This means that the angle I is greater than the angle R. Understood? This is one important fact you must remember. Similarly, when the light ray travels from a denser medium to a rarer medium, it bends away from the normal. So if the green block here is glass and the brown atmosphere is air, then glass is optically denser than air. So when the light ray moves from glass to air, it bends away from the normal, as you can make out. It does not bend towards the normal. So in this case, the angle R is greater than the angle I. Understood? This is again a fact you must remember. There you go. Here are the refractive indices of some common substances. Kerosene has a refractive index of 1.44. Water has a refractive index 1.33. Diamond has a refractive index of 2.42, while rubies, which are used in making jewels, have a refractive index of 1.71. Understood? Of course, you needn't remember the values of these refractive indices, but I'm just giving you an idea, of how refractive indices generally are. Generally, they are 1 point something or 2 point something, and they are always greater than 1 because the refractive index of vacuum is 1. The refractive index of air is also generally taken to be 1. So now that we've studied so many concepts related to refraction, the angles of refraction, angle of incidence, Snell's law, refractive index, the relationship between the speeds of light in one medium and another, let's move on and solve some problems. Which of the following statements is true? When a light ray enters water from air, it bends towards the normal. The refractive index of kerosene is 0.2. The speed of light in air is greater than that in water. The refractive index is constant for the air-water pair of media. So there you go. We have 4 options and all of them seem complicated. Which of them is correct? Let's look at each option one by one and try to understand which option is correct. Here's the first option. When a light ray enters water from air, it bends towards the normal. Now clearly, this option is correct. You see, air is an optically rarer medium and water is an optically denser medium, isn't it? Water has a higher refractive index compared to air. Its refractive index is 1.33 while the refractive index of air is 1. The light ray from air to water bends towards the normal, as light bends towards the normal when it enters a denser medium, an optically denser medium, from an optically rarer medium. The second option says the refractive index of kerosene is 0.2. This option is wrong. That is because the refractive index of a medium is always greater than 1. This option has to be wrong. Here's option C. The speed of light in air is greater than that in water. This option is again correct. You see, the refractive index of air is less than that of water. And we had read that, the lesser the refractive index, the greater the speed of light. Therefore, the speed of light in air is greater than that in water. The refractive index is constant for the air-water pair of media. This statement is also correct. After all, as I had said, for the same color of light, for 2 given pair of media, the refractive index is constant. So there you go. We've solved this problem. Here's another one. What is the speed of light in a diamond? The speed of light in air is 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. The refractive index of diamond with respect to air is 2.42. This question is quite simple. We have to find the speed of light in a diamond. You see, here's a light ray striking the diamond and getting refracted inside it. The angle of incidence is I and the angle of refraction is R. Now we know that speed of light in air divided by speed of light in diamond is equal to refractive index of diamond with respect to air, isn't it? There's no doubt about it. We had just learned this formula. Refractive index of diamond with respect to air is 2.42. So 2.42 is speed of light in air divided by speed of light in diamond. Or you can say that the speed of light in diamond comes out to be this expression as the speed of light in air is given. Hence, the speed of light in a diamond is 1.24 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. That's our answer. It is less than the speed of light in air. After all, the refractive index of diamond is greater than that of air. Here's yet another problem. Take a look at the figure below. Here's the figure. You can see a light ray making an angle of incidence I with the normal entering medium 2 from medium 1. The angle of refraction is R. We are asked which medium has greater optical density. If I is 30 degrees and R is 60 degrees, then what is N21? Which medium has a greater speed of light? So many questions. At first glance, this question sounds bamboozling. But then when we draw the diagram and look at each part, we can understand the question easily. This is medium 1, this is medium 2. The ray of light is entering medium 2 from medium 1. The first part says, which medium has greater optical density? What you can see here is that the ray of light is bending away from the normal, isn't it? You can clearly see that angle I is smaller than angle R. The light ray is bending away from the normal. When light travels from a denser medium to a rarer medium, it bends away from the normal. So clearly, medium I must have greater optical density, isn't it? That is why the light ray from medium 1 entering medium 2 is bending away from the normal. The second part of the question says, if the angle of incidence is 30 degrees and the angle of refraction is 60 degrees, what is the refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1? Clearly, the refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1 is sin I by sin R, or sin 30 degrees by sin 60 degrees. That comes out to be 1 by root 3, isn't it? That's because sin 30 degrees is 1 by 2 and sin 60 degrees is root 3 by 2. So sin 30 degrees by sin 30 degrees sin 60 degrees is 1 by root 3. So the refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1 is 1 by root 3. Now you might wonder, this refractive index is less than 1, isn't it? But I had said that refractive index is always greater than 1. The fact is that the refractive index of any medium with respect to vacuum is greater than 1. Understood? The refractive index of one medium with respect to the other can be greater than 1 or less than 1. Understood? It's the refractive index of one medium with respect to vacuum which is always greater than 1. So this is a fact you must remember. The next part of the question said, which medium has a greater speed of light? Light clearly has a greater speed in medium 2. That is because, as you can see, the refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1 is less than 1, isn't it? Also, we know that medium 2 is optically rarer. After all, light is bending away from the normal, isn't it? As it is coming from medium 1 to medium 2, light is bending away from the normal, which tells us that medium 1 is optically denser and medium 2 is optically rarer. Light travels faster in an optically rarer medium. So clearly the light has a greater speed of light in medium 2. There you go. That's our answer. So that was about how refraction occurs as light travels from one medium to another. A fascinating case of refraction occurs in the case of a rectangular glass slab. The case of the rectangular glass slab is unique because light actually undergoes two refractions in the case of a rectangular glass slab. So this blue slab here is a glass slab. Here you can see a light ray entering glass from air. The angle of incidence that the light ray makes with the normal at the point of contact between the light ray, air and glass is I1. After entering glass, the light ray gets refracted towards the normal, isn't it? After all, as light travels from air to glass, it gets refracted towards the normal since glass is optically denser. The angle of refraction after the first refraction is R1. Now this light ray traveling through glass reaches the glass-air contact medium here to undergo the second refraction. This light ray gets refracted and it bends away from the normal as it moves from glass to air. The angle of incidence this time inside the glass with respect to the normal is I2, and the angle of refraction, the angle with the normal that the final emergent ray in air makes, is R2, isn't it? You can also see that this time the ray bends away from the normal. This happens because glass is a denser medium optically and air is rarer optically, so the light ray bends away from the normal. So this is what happens when a light ray passes through a glass slab. Understood? So you must understand how the light ray behaves as it passes through a glass slab. A fascinating fact that scientists have observed is that the emergent ray, the final ray that comes out into the air after passing through glass, is actually parallel to the incident ray. Something like this. Understood? So if you extend the incident ray, you will see that the incident ray and the final emergent ray, this ray in air, are parallel to each other. Why does this happen? Well, this happens because the light ray from air to glass bends towards the normal by the same angle, by which the light ray from glass to air bends away from the normal. So first the light ray bends towards the normal, then it bends away from the normal by the same angle in the opposite direction. So the final emergent ray becomes parallel to the incident ray. You can also therefore remember that a light ray passing through a glass slab undergoes no deviation after it has passed through the glass slab. It remains traveling along a line parallel to the incident ray. So these are some facts you must remember. In fact, you can even, conduct an experiment to prove this in the laboratory. You can go ahead and you can place two pins on one side of a glass slab. You can join these two pins to form a straight line incident on the glass slab. The two pins and the straight line can represent the incident ray. Now you can go to the other side of the glass slab and look at the pins that you have placed. Now you can place two more pins at the position where the images of these two pins are formed. Understood? Then you can draw a line joining the images of these two pins. When you do that, and when you remove the glass slab, you will get a figure like this. You will see that the incident ray, that is the line joining the first two pins, and the emergent ray, the line joining the two images of the pins, both of them are parallel to each other. So that was about refraction through a glass slab and the different laws of refraction. Let's now move on and study a very important application of refraction in our daily life. The use of refraction in lenses. A transparent surface bounded by two curved surfaces on both sides is called a lens. So basically, a lens is a transparent medium which is bounded on either side by curved surfaces. Understood? Lenses are used in our daily life, to magnify objects, to form images of objects, to form inverted images of objects, and they have many other applications. Lenses are of two types, convex lenses and concave lenses. Convex lenses are those lenses, which are bounded by two convex surfaces on both sides. So you can see, this is a convex lens shown on your screen. You can see that it basically consists of a transparent medium that is bounded by two curved surfaces on both sides. This is the first curved surface and this is the second curved surface. You can say both these curved surfaces, are part of a sphere. So if you take a large sphere and you break it into parts, then one part forms the right side of this convex lens and one part forms the left side of this convex lens. In the case of the convex lens, both the surfaces of the lens bulge outwards. Understood? They bulge like this. This lens is thicker in the middle and it is thinner at the edges. This is a convex lens. This type of lens is sometimes also called a double convex lens, as both of its surfaces bulge outwards. That is, both of its surfaces are convex. This outward bulging surface is called a convex surface. Sometimes convex lenses can be plano-convex also. This means that one side is plane and one side is convex. Understood? On the other hand, concave lenses generally have two concave surfaces. Understood? They are also called double concave lenses. As you can see, concave surfaces are surfaces which are pressed inwards. They don't bulge outwards, they bulge inwards. Understood? So the left surface here is also a concave surface and the right surface is also a concave surface. As you can see, a concave lens is thinner in the middle and it is thicker at the edges. Understood? So these are two types of lenses, convex and concave lenses. Sometimes we also talk about plano-concave lenses. One surface is concave and one surface is plane. In general, in this chapter and in this class, we will talk about double concave and double convex lenses. And whenever we say convex or concave lens, we mean a lens which has two convex surfaces or two concave surfaces. Concave surfaces, as I said, are surfaces which bulge inwards. So here, this is a convex lens. Now as we proceed, we will learn, how an image is formed when we place an object in front of a convex lens. You see, when we place an object in front of a convex lens, rays from the object go and they strike the lens. After striking the lens, when the rays meet, that point is where the image of the object is formed by the lens. Understood? So rays from the object come and strike the lens, and then when the rays meet, a real image of the object is formed. If the rays do not meet, then our brain forms an image by extending the rays, and that image is a virtual image. So we will basically understand how rays, behave after they strike a convex lens and after they strike a concave lens. Then we will learn image formation using a convex and a concave lens. Before we do all that, however, we need to learn some terms related to both convex and concave lenses. Convex lenses are generally placed on an axis like this. This yellow line you see is an axis. The center portion of the convex lens or a concave lens is called the optical center. Understood? It is the exact center of the lens and it is represented by the symbol O. This axis, this line here, the yellow line is called the principal axis. This is the axis of the lens. On this axis, there are 2 points C1 and C2 on the axis. Both of them are called the center of curvature of the lens. Understood? You see, what does C1 represent? The lens has two surfaces, the right surface and the left surface. The right surface is a part of a sphere, isn't it? There was once a large sphere and then we broke down that sphere into parts, and that part has now become the right surface and the left surface of the lens. So the center of the sphere from which the right surface of the lens has been carved out is called the left center of curvature of the lens, and it is depicted by C1. Understood? So it is the center of the sphere from which the right surface of the lens has been carved out. C2 is the center of the sphere from which the left surface of the lens has been carved out. C1 and C2 are generally fixed for a given lens. Understood? And they are properties of that particular lens. Here you can see the optical center and the centers of curvature of a concave lens. In this case, C1 represents the center of curvature of the sphere from which the left surface of the lens has been carved out, and C2 represents the center of curvature of the sphere from which the right surface of the lens has been carved out. So you must remember these terms: center of curvature and optical center. A lens has two centers of curvature. There is another important point related to a lens. It has been found that when rays parallel to the principal axis strike a convex lens, in that case, all these rays which are parallel to the principal axis, meet on the right side of the lens at one single point on the principal axis. Here you can see two rays which are parallel to the principal axis coming from the left and meeting at a point on the right. Even if there were 5 rays or 10 rays, they would still meet at the same point. The point at which the rays parallel to the principal axis meet after refraction through the lens is called the focus of the lens. Understood? It is the point where rays parallel to the principal axis meet after refraction in the case of a convex lens. So this is how the focus of a convex lens is defined. Similarly, if you make rays from the right fall on the convex lens parallel to the principal axis, they will meet on the left at a point on the principal axis called F1. So there are two foci for every convex lens, F1 and F2. There are two centers of curvatures, C1 and C2. Generally, it has been found out that C1 is 2F1 and C2 is 2F2. This approximation is generally valid. So you can generally consider the length C1 to be 2 times the distance of the focus from the optical axis. Understood? So if the distance of f2 from O is OF2, then the distance of C2 from O is 2 times OF2. Understood? The focal length is the distance of the optical center from each focus. Generally, the focal length is taken to be small f. It is represented by the symbol small f. Every lens, as I said, has two foci. One fascinating fact you can see here is that the convex lens is a converging lens. You see, rays which are parallel to the principal axis are converged at one single point by the convex lens. Even if the rays are not parallel to the principal axis, the convex lens generally tries to bring rays closer to each other. When rays are brought closer to each other, we say that the rays are converging. When rays move far from each other, we say that the rays are diverging. The convex lens tends to bring the rays closer to each other. That's the property of the convex lens. So it's called a converging lens. Similarly, we can see that a concave lens also has two foci. The definition of a focus in the case of a concave lens is, however, different. In the case of a concave lens, what happens is that when two rays parallel to the principal axis strike the concave lens, they diverge. That is, they move in different directions like this. But they move in different directions in such a way that they appear to come from a point. And this point is the focus of the concave lens. Understood? So in the case of a concave lens, the focus is the point where rays parallel to the principal axis appear to meet after refraction when extended backwards. So the rays diverge, so they don't meet at the focus, but when you extend them backwards, they tend to come out from the focus. That is the focus of a concave lens. Similarly, if rays are coming from the right side, the rays appear to come from f2 after refraction from the concave lens. So again, a concave lens also has two foci. Of course, as you can see, a concave lens is a diverging lens. A convex lens brings rays closer to each other. A concave lens, makes rays go farther away from each other. So now that we've studied about the different terms related to convex and concave lenses, we can proceed and learn about how images are formed by concave and convex lenses. However, before that, we also need to learn, certain properties of convex and concave lenses. There are three types of rays which can strike convex and concave lenses. These are three standard types of rays, and you must remember what happens to these rays when they strike convex and concave lenses. You already know that if a ray is parallel to the principal axis and it strikes the convex lens, then after refraction from the convex lens, the ray must pass through the focus on the other side, f2, isn't it? So this is one type of ray that can strike the convex lens. You see, what happens is that when we try to form the image of an object, we try to bring out some rays from the object. So we generally try to bring out rays which we are familiar with. Like we know that a ray parallel to the principal axis after refraction from a convex lens passes through the focus. So we generally try to bring out a parallel ray from the object. Similarly, we'll try to bring out the two other known types of rays from our object to form the image. When a ray strikes the convex lens in such a way that it passes through the optical center of the lens, it passes undeviated. This is another property of the convex lens. So this is the second type of ray you must remember. If a ray passes through O, it passes undeviated. Another type of ray is the ray which passes through the focus f1 of the convex lens. So if a ray strikes the convex lens after passing through the first focus of the convex lens, then after refraction from the lens, the ray becomes parallel to the principal axis. So this is again another point that you must remember. If a ray passes through the first focus of a convex lens, then after refraction, it becomes parallel to the principal axis. There are similarly three types of rays in the case of a concave lens also. If a ray parallel to the principal axis strikes a concave lens, you already know that it gets refracted in such a way that it appears to come from the first focus of the concave lens, isn't it? This is one important thing you must remember. Another fact is that if a ray passes through the optical center of a concave lens, then after refraction, it passes undeviated. just as in the case of a convex lens. Another thing to remember is that if a ray strikes a concave lens in such a way that it appears to pass through the second focus of a concave lens when extended, in that case after refraction, this ray becomes parallel to the principal axis. So you must remember that these rules are different in the case of a concave lens. In the case of a concave lens, a ray parallel to the principal axis appears to come from the focus. A ray passing through the optical center continues undeviated, and a ray appearing to strike the focus f2 of the concave lens after refraction becomes parallel to the principal axis. So all these are facts that you must remember. And now that we've learnt about the rules of how rays refract after passing through lenses, let's finally study the images formed by a convex lens. So what we will do in this case is that we will place an object, at different distances from a convex lens. Then we will bring out some rays from the object that will strike the convex lens. The point where the rays intersect is the point where the image will be formed. Understood? First of all, let's place the object at infinity, that is at minus infinity, at an infinite distance from the convex lens to the left. When we do that, rays will be parallel to the principal axis. I had already mentioned when we were studying concave and convex mirrors that for any object at infinity, the rays from that object will always be parallel to the principal axis. So parallel rays, when they come from infinity, after refraction, meet at the focus, isn't it? So therefore, the image of an object at infinity is formed at the second focus of a convex mirror. The image is at f2. The image is real. The image is real if the rays after refraction meet in reality. The image is virtual if the rays do not meet. But the rays do meet here, so the image is real. The image is highly diminished. No matter how large the object is, the image is being formed at one single point. So obviously, its size has been reduced by a great amount. It's a point image. So you must remember that the image of an object at infinity is formed at the second focus of a convex lens. Now let us move the object closer to the convex lens and see where the image is formed. Let us place the object at a point beyond 2f1. When I say 2f1, I mean C1, the first center of curvature of the convex lens. So I've placed, the object beyond 2f1. Now how do I form the image? To form the image, we must get some rays from the object to fall on the convex lens. We know that a ray parallel to the principal axis after refraction passes through the second focus. So since that ray is known, I have brought out a ray parallel to the principal axis from the object. Here we go. This ray passes through the second focus. We also know that a ray passing through the optical center continues undeviated. So here I have made a ray pass through the optical center. You can see that the rays meet here between f2 and 2f2, and this is where the image is formed. Understood? So what you have to do is you have to note the point at which the rays meet, and then you have to extend that point and draw perpendicular from that point to the principal axis, and you will get the image. Understood? So this point here has been refracted and its image has been formed here at this point. As you can see, the qualities of the image are now quite evident. The image lies between f2 and 2f2, isn't it? You can see that. You can also see that the image is real because the rays are meeting in reality. The image is also diminished. After all, it's smaller in size compared to the object. So when the object is placed beyond 2f1, then the image is formed between f2 and 2f2 and it is diminished. You can also see that the image is inverted. The object has the arrowhead upwards, but the image has the arrowhead downwards. So you must remember the properties of the image for the exact position of the object. Understood? This is how the image is formed when the object is beyond 2f1. The procedure to form the image is actually quite simple. Wherever the object is, take out 2 or 3 known rays from the object, make them refract through the lens. Wherever the rays meet, that's where the image will be formed. Note that point where the rays meet, extend it to the principal axis, and you will get the image. Let's move the object closer now. Let's place it at 2f1. When the object is placed at 2f1, this time where will the image be formed? Take out 2 rays from the object. The ray that's parallel to the principal axis after refraction passes through the focus f2 of the convex lens. The ray passing through the optical center passes undeviated. When we note this point and extend it to the principal axis, we get the image. Now here we see something fascinating. Of course, the image is at 2f2. So when the object is placed at 2f1, the image is actually formed at 2f2. This is something interesting and you have to remember it. You must also remember that the image is real because the rays meet. The image is of the same size. So the image is neither magnified nor is it diminished. It is of the same size. It is not enlarged. The image is also inverted. So when the object is placed at 2f1, a real inverted image of the same size is produced, and it is produced at 2f2. This is again an important fact that you must remember. Let's now move the object even closer. Let's place it at 2f1 at a point between f1 and 2f1. Where will the image be formed in this case? Again, the process is the same. Just draw a line parallel to the principal axis. That is, take out a ray parallel to the principal axis and make it strike the convex lens. After refraction, this ray will pass through f2, the second focus of the convex lens. A ray passing through the optical center of the convex lens will continue undeviated. You can see that the rays meet. Here's the image when you extend the point where the rays meet towards the principal axis. You can again note the qualities of the image. You can see that the image is formed beyond 2f2 in this case. You can also see that the image is real because the rays meet in reality. You can see that the image is enlarged. So if you want to obtain an inverted and enlarged image, you can see the image is inverted. You have to place the object between f1 and 2f1. So you must remember the qualities of the image, for different positions of the object. You can be asked questions like, where will the image be formed when the object is placed between f1 and 2f1? Or you may be asked, how can you obtain an enlarged and inverted image? Or you can be asked, how can you obtain a diminished and inverted image in the case of a convex lens? So now you know how you can do that. Remember where the object is placed and remember the qualities of the image, and you will get your answers. Let's move the object closer now. Let's place it at f1. Again, to find out where the image is formed, let's take out 2 rays from f1. This is one ray parallel to the principal axis. After refraction from the convex lens, it passes through the second focus of the convex lens. Let's take out another ray from this object that passes through the optical center of the convex lens. This ray continues undeviated. In this case, we see something fascinating. We see that the final, emergent rays after refraction are actually parallel to each other. What does that mean? This means that they never meet, or they meet at infinity. Understood? You see, the refracted rays are parallel to each other, and parallel rays only meet at infinity. This means that the image will be formed at infinity. So when the object is placed at the first focus of a convex lens, the image is formed at infinity. Also, the image is real. After all, at infinity the rays do meet, isn't it? They may meet a large distance away from the convex lens, but they meet. The image is highly enlarged. You can see that the rays are moving downwards, isn't it? So if they meet at infinity, at that infinite point, if you extend that point to the principal axis, a very enlarged image will be formed, isn't it? The rays are just moving downwards and increasing the size of the image. So the image is highly enlarged. The image is also inverted because you can see that the arrowhead here is upwards, isn't it? Above the principal axis. But in the case of the image, the arrowhead will be downwards, that too at infinity. So these are some important properties of the image in the case when the object is placed at the focus of a convex lens. You must again remember these properties. Then there is of course the case when the object is placed between f1 and O. It's placed between the first focus and the optical center of the convex lens. What happens in this case? Where will the image be formed? In this case again, let us take out our very common two rays. The first ray is the ray parallel to the principal axis, which will pass through the focus f2. The second ray from the object will pass through the optical center of the lens undeviated. Quite fascinating. In this case, the rays are actually diverging. You see, in all other cases, the rays were moving towards each other after refraction. So they were meeting at some point. In this case, the rays are moving away from each other. Obviously, they will never meet, isn't it? And so a real image is not formed in this case. Our brain, however, plays an interesting trick. It extends these rays backwards, something like this. And therefore, the brain observes an image here, something like this. So therefore, a virtual image is formed in this case. The rays do not meet in reality, so they meet when extended backwards. In this case, the image is virtual. It is on the same side as the object. As you can see, it is also highly enlarged, isn't it? You can see that the violet arrow is much greater than the green arrow in size. A fascinating fact is that the image is also erect in this case. You can see that in all other cases, the image was inverted. However, in this case, the image is erect. So you may be asked, in which situation does the convex lens form an erect image? It forms an erect image when the object lies between f1 and O. Can a convex lens form a real erect image? No, it can only form a virtual erect image. Whenever the image of a convex lens is real, it is always inverted. It is not erect. Understood? So you must remember this property also. So these were all the cases, We took the object at infinity and then we brought it closer and closer to the convex lens and we formed images. You must remember, where the images are formed when the object is placed in a certain position. So that was about image formation for a convex lens. Let's solve some problems to better understand this image formation. Dharmesh held a magnifying glass, a convex lens, in front of a paper one day as the sun was shining brightly. He noticed that at a certain position of the lens, the paper caught fire. Can you explain why? You must have heard of this phenomenon in your daily life. When you hold a magnifying glass in the sun against a piece of paper, sometimes the paper catches fire. So why does this happen? You see, this happens because the rays of light that are coming from the sun are coming from a very large distance away. You can basically assume that they are coming from infinity. Now, if you place the paper at a distance equal to the focal length of the convex lens, in that case, the convex lens will converge the rays coming from infinity to a particular point on the paper, isn't it? So the entire intensity of the sun is converged at one single point on the paper. That generates a lot of heat and the paper catches fire. Understood? So since the convex lens is a converging lens, it focuses the rays coming from infinity on its focus, and if the paper is kept at the focus, it catches fire. So that is the reason why a convex lens causes paper kept at its focus to burn. That's our answer now. Let's now move ahead and look at the images formed by a concave lens. After all, we've just studied the images formed by a convex lens, when the object is kept at different positions. In this case, however, there are not many positions. There are only two positions for which an image can be formed by a concave lens. One case is when the object is at infinity, and then when the object is not at infinity, for all positions of the object, the image is very similar. The properties of the image are very similar. So we don't need to study 7-8 cases as we did in the case of a convex lens. We can study just two cases. The first case is when the object is at infinity. In this case, the rays coming from the object will be parallel to the principal axis. We already know that after refraction from a concave lens, rays parallel to the principal axis get refracted in such a way that on extending them backwards, they appear to come from the focus. Isn't it? There you go. So the image is formed at the focus, the first focus of a concave lens. This image is of course virtual, isn't it? The image is virtual because the rays diverge. They do not really meet, but they meet when extended backwards by our brain. So the image is formed at f1. It is virtual, it is highly diminished, and also it is a point image. So there you go. This is what happens when the object is at infinity. A virtual point image at f1 is formed. What if the object is not at infinity, but it is at any other point? No matter where the object is, a similar image is formed in the case of a concave lens. So I am randomly placing the object between f1 and 2f1. Now I have to take two rays from the object and see where these rays meet, or where they appear to meet when extended backwards. The ray parallel to the principal axis coming from the object on refraction from a concave lens gets refracted in such a way that it appears to come from the focus f1. Isn't it? There you go. That's the first ray. A ray passing through the optical center of a concave lens passes undeviated. You can see that the final rays don't meet. After all, they are diverging. However, when extended backwards, both of these rays meet. Isn't it? They meet at this particular point here between f1 and O. And this is where the image in the case of a concave lens is always formed. You can see that this image is erect, isn't it? It is also diminished in size. It is between f1 and O. It is also virtual because the rays do not meet in reality. So therefore, an erect, diminished and virtual image is always formed by a concave lens. Understood? This is a standard fact, no matter where the object is placed. You can actually try placing the object at different positions, and when you draw the rays, you will see that the rays don't meet, but when extended backwards, they always form an image between f1 and O. So there you go. Whenever you are asked, a virtual and diminished image, you must say by using a concave lens. Understood? After all, in the case of a convex lens, a virtual and enlarged image is formed. Only a concave lens forms a virtual and diminished image. So now that we've studied so much of image formation using convex and concave lenses, let's solve some more problems. A lens forms an erect and enlarged image when the object is at A, and it forms an inverted image of the same size when the object is at B. O is the optical center. Which of the options is correct? The lens is convex. The distance OA is less than f. The distance OB is greater than 2f. If the object is placed between A and B, then at a certain point, a very highly enlarged image will be formed. Now this seems to be a bamboozling question at first glance, as in the options seem so complicated. But if we look at the options one by one and we understand what is happening, we will get our answers. The question says that at point A, the image formed is enlarged and virtual. At point B, the image formed is of the same size and it is inverted. Clearly, only a convex lens forms both a real and a virtual image. Also, it's only a convex lens that forms, an inverted and real image and a virtual and erect image both. A concave lens only forms virtual images and it never forms an inverted image. So definitely our lens is convex. Understood? Now, the case when a virtual and erect image is formed is the case when the object is placed between f1 and O. Remember, we had drawn rays from the object and found out that a virtual enlarged image is formed in this case. So A is a point between f1 and O. That is why a virtual and enlarged image is formed when the object is placed at A. Similarly, we read earlier that when the object is at 2f1, in that case, an inverted real image is formed of the same size, isn't it? We had learned that it's formed at 2f2. So the point B must be at 2f1, because when the object is placed at point B, an inverted image is formed and it has a size equal to the size of the object. Therefore, you can say that the lens is convex. This is point A between f1 and O, and this is point B at 2f1, isn't it? So there you go. These are the locations of point A and point B. Now the next option says the distance OA is less than f. That option is clearly correct. After all, point A is such that it makes the convex lens form a virtual image. So A is definitely between O and f1, and so the distance OA is less than the focal length of the convex lens. This option is correct. The next option says the distance OB is greater than 2f. This option is wrong. The distance OB is exactly equal to 2 times the focal length, isn't it? After all, B is at 2f1, and the distance O2f1 is clearly 2 times f, the focal length. So this option is wrong. The last option says that if the object is placed between A and B, then at a certain point, a very highly enlarged image will be formed. That option is true. You see, the focus f1 of the convex lens lies between A and B, isn't it? And we know that when an object is placed at the focus, a very highly enlarged real image at infinity is formed. Something like this happens. We had learned that, isn't it? When the object is placed at the focus of a convex lens, a very enlarged image at infinity is formed. Therefore, there is a point between A and B at which an enlarged image at infinity is formed. There you go. That's our answer. We've looked at each option in detail and we've found out which one is correct. So basically, even if you have complicated options, don't worry. Just try to understand what is happening in the question, draw your diagrams, and you'll get your answer. Here's the next problem. A dashed lens can be used to obtain a diminished and erect image of an object. The image is dash. This question is quite simple. We just learnt that only a concave lens can produce a diminished and erect image. You see, a convex lens produces an erect image only when the image is virtual, and even in that case, the image is enlarged. So that's our answer. So you must remember, what type of images are formed by what type of lenses when the object is placed at different positions. Here, this is the case. When a concave lens forms a diminished image. This is the scenario being talked about in the question. A diminished and erect image. So now that we've understood image formation in the case of lenses, let's move ahead and study something called the lens formula. The lens formula, allows us to tell us the value of the image distance if we know the object distance and the focal length of the lens. In the case of mirrors, we had studied that if the image distance is v, if the object distance is u, and the focal length is f, then 1 by v plus 1 by u is 1 by f. Isn't it? We could find out where the image was formed if we knew where the object was placed and if we knew the focal length of the mirror. A similar formula is used in the case of lenses. We had studied the sign convention in the case of mirrors. The Cartesian sign convention, which tells us how we should, use values with proper sign in the mirror formula. 1 by v plus 1 by u equal to 1 by f. In this case, let's revise that sign convention in the case of lenses. Then we will study the lens formula, which is a slightly different version of the mirror formula. The sign convention for lenses is exactly the same as the sign convention for mirrors. The object is placed to the left of the lens in this case too, as the object was placed to the left of the mirror in those cases. Similarly, the left direction from the lens is taken to be negative, the right direction is taken to be positive. The lower direction is taken to be negative, and the direction above the principal axis is taken to be positive. Understood? All distances, they are measured from the optical center of the lens. So this is the basic sign convention for lenses. Another important sign convention in the case of lenses is that the focal length of a convex lens is always taken to be positive, while the focal length of a concave lens is always taken to be negative. Understood? So this is another important extra fact in the case of lenses, that we did not study in the case of mirrors. The fact that the convex lens focal length is always positive. So there you go. We've just rewinded and revised the sign convention in the case of lenses. So what is the lens formula? If the object is placed at a distance u from the optical center and the image is formed at a distance v from the optical center, then the focal length of the lens is f. In that case, according to the lens formula, 1 by v minus 1 by u is 1 by f, where v, u and f must be taken with proper sign. In this case, the formula has changed, compared to the mirror formula. The mirror formula was 1 by v plus 1 by u equal to 1 by f. The lens formula says 1 by v minus 1 by u is 1 by f. Understood? So that's the difference. In this case, again, proper sign must be taken. For example, let's say the distance of the object from the optical center is a. In that case, the coordinate of the object will be taken as minus a. If the distance of the image from the optical center is b, the coordinate of the image will be taken as plus b, as it lies to the right of the lens. The focal length of the convex lens, of course, is taken to be positive, say plus c. So the lens formula can be applied. 1 by v, the image distance is plus b, minus 1 by u, the object distance is minus a, equal to 1 by f. The focal length is plus c. Understood? So this is the lens formula in the case of lenses. Lens formula. Of course, as we solve some problems, you will understand the lens formula and its application in a much better way. Another important thing that we studied in the case of mirrors was magnification. Remember, we had said that magnification is the ratio of the height of the image to the height of the object. In the case of lenses also, we define magnification as the height of the image divided by the height of the object. Understood? So the height of the image is generally represented by the symbol h dash, and the height of the object is represented by the symbol h. Just as in the case of mirrors, h dash by h is equal to v by u in the case of lenses also. Understood? In the case of mirrors, we had studied that height of image by height of object is image distance by object distance, v by u. The same is true in the case of magnification for lenses also. Of course, v and u must be taken with proper sign. H dash is taken to be negative in the downward direction and it is taken to be positive in the upward direction. Understood? H, the object height, is generally taken to be positive. So again, this convention is the same as in the case of mirrors. Let's solve a problem, to understand more about magnification and about lens formula. Here's an example problem. An object is placed 2 cm to the left of a lens. The image is formed 5 cm to the left of the lens. Some options are given. Is the lens concave or convex? What is the focal length of the lens? Is the image small or enlarged? Is it real or virtual? What is the magnification of the image? So many details have been asked. What do we do? Don't worry, it's actually quite a simple question. The question says that an object is placed at a distance 2 cm to the left of the lens. So the coordinate of the object is minus 2. The image is placed at a distance 5 cm from the center of the lens. So the coordinate of the object is minus 5 as it is towards the left. The first thing we need to find out is whether the lens is convex or concave. We don't know that yet. I've just drawn a convex lens, because we had to show a lens. The lens may turn out to be concave also. So how do we find that out? You see, we know the image distance v and we know the object distance u. So using the formula 1 by v minus 1 by u equal to 1 by f, we can calculate the focal length of the lens. If the focal length comes out to be positive, it is a convex lens. If the focal length is negative, it is a concave lens. So there you go. I've applied the lens formula. 1 by minus 5 minus 1 by minus 2 is 1 by f. That gives f as a positive value. F comes out to be 3.33 centimeters. That means our assumption was correct. The lens is a convex lens, since convex lenses have a positive focal length. What was the second part of the question? The second part of the question said, what is the focal length of the lens? Clearly, we have already found that out. It is 3.33 centimeters, isn't it? The third and fourth part of the question wanted us to find the qualities of the image and the magnification. The magnification is clearly image distance by object distance, isn't it? That is V by U, or minus 5 by minus 2, or 2.5. Clearly, that's the value of magnification. What about the qualities of the image? It is clear that a convex lens forms an image on the same side of the lens only when the image is virtual and when the image is enlarged, isn't it? After all, we learnt that when the object is placed between f1 and O, that is when a convex lens forms a enlarged virtual image on the same side of the lens. Otherwise, it doesn't form an image on the same side of the lens. So in this case, the image is enlarged and erect. It's a virtual image also. So that's our answer. So there you go. Though the question appeared complicated, when we looked at each point individually, when we drew our diagrams, we got our answers. Here's another problem. The magnification of the image formed by a certain lens is minus 5. Which of the following options is correct? The image is real. The image is erect. The lens is convex. The object is placed between f1 and O. Now this is again a very complicated question, or at least that's how it seems at first glance. It is only given that the magnification is minus 5, and we are asked so many things. Now before we go ahead and tick one of these options and say which one of these is correct or not, we must understand a bit more about magnification. You see, magnification is h dash by h, image height by object height, that is V by U. Now h is always taken to be positive because the object is always assumed to be erect. Therefore, when the image is inverted, the magnification is negative, and when the image is erect, the magnification is positive, isn't it? So this is one important fact that you must remember, that whenever an inverted image is formed, the magnification is negative, and whenever an erect image is formed, the magnification is positive. Another important fact that you must remember is that whenever a real image is formed, the magnification is negative, and whenever a virtual image is formed, the magnification is positive. Understood? I had explained these facts in the case of a mirror also, but they are also true in the case of lenses. If the image is real, magnification is negative. If the image is virtual, magnification is positive. That can be explained, because whenever the image is real, in the case of convex and concave lenses, it is always inverted, isn't it? And when the image is inverted, m is negative. So when the image is real, m is negative. Similarly, whenever the image is erect, in that case, the image is always virtual, both in the case of convex and concave lenses. So whenever the image is virtual, m is positive. Now these are some interesting facts that we just came to know about. Now we are given in the question that the magnification is minus 5. That means the image is inverted, since the magnification is negative. An inverted image is only formed by a convex lens. The first option said the image is real. Clearly, that is true, because if the image is inverted, definitely the image must be real, because we have not studied of an image that is inverted and virtual. If the image is inverted, it is always real, and an inverted image is always formed by a convex lens. So the first option is correct. Yes, the image is real because the magnification is negative. The second option says the image is erect. This option is false. That is because if the magnification is positive, that is when the image is erect. If the magnification is negative, the image is inverted. The next option says the lens is convex. That is true because an inverted image is formed only by a convex lens. So this option is correct. The next option says the object is placed between f1 and O. This option is wrong. We know that when the object is placed between f1 and O, a virtual image is formed, isn't it, on the same side of the convex lens? Since in this case, a virtual image is not formed, a real inverted image is formed, so the object is definitely not placed between F1 and O. So this option is again wrong. In fact, this is the virtual image, that is formed when the object is placed between F1 and O. So there you go. We have solved this problem. Hope you understood it. Sometimes problems seem complicated at first glance, but as I said, when you draw diagrams, they become so much more easier. We'll study one more concept related to lenses called the power of lenses. You see, the property of a convex lens in general is to converge a beam of light, isn't it? After all, whenever light strikes a convex lens, it tries to bring the rays of light closer to each other, isn't it? And when rays are coming from infinity, it converges light at the focus. So the power of a convex lens is basically its converging power. Its power to bring rays nearer to each other, to get rays nearer and converge them at a point. Understood? Now, the lesser the focal length of a convex lens, clearly the greater its converging power, isn't it? You see, if rays are coming from infinity and the focal length is really large, then the convex lens will converge the rays, but it will converge the rays after a long distance because the focal length is large, isn't it? And the convex lens converges rays from infinity only at the focus. If, however, the focal length is small, then the convex lens will converge the rays quite fast, isn't it? After all, if the focal length is very small, then the convex lens will converge the rays from infinity very fast, over a very small distance. So the lesser the focal length, the greater the power of a convex lens, isn't it? Similarly, take a look at a concave lens. A concave lens is a diverging lens. The power of a concave lens is its diverging power, the power of the concave lens to spread rays apart from each other. When rays from infinity come and strike a concave lens, it diverges them. It makes them go far away in such a way that they appear to come from the focus. In this case also, the lesser the focal length, the greater the diverging power of a concave lens, isn't it? You can see that if the focal length is large, the concave lens will diverge the rays, but not by a large amount, isn't it? Because when extended backwards, they'll have a large distance to go before they reach the focus. If the focal length is very less, then the concave lens is very powerful because it can clearly diverge the rays very easily. So therefore, the power of a lens is the ability to converge or diverge. In the case of a convex lens, it is the ability of the convex lens to converge rays. And in the case of a concave lens, it is its ability to diverge rays. The formula for the power of a lens is 1 by f, where f is the focal length of a lens. Understood? So, to calculate the power of any lens, you can take the reciprocal of the focal length in meters and you will get the power in a unit called diopters. Understood? The unit of power is diopters and it is represented by the symbol D. Of course, the focal length of a convex lens is always positive, so the power is also positive for a convex lens. The focal length of a concave lens is always negative, so the power is also negative for a concave lens. Understood? So these are facts that you must understand. Generally, people wear spectacles of different power, isn't it? People say the power of the spectacles has increased or decreased. It is this power that they are talking about, the power measured in diopters. So if someone is wearing a spectacles which have a power of say -2, that means they have a power -2 diopters, and the focal length of those spectacles is 1 divided by -2. So now you've actually understood where that power of the lens of spectacles comes from, isn't it? Again, let's solve a problem and get our concepts even clearer. There is a lens of power 10 diopters. The magnification of the image is +5. How far are the object and the image from the optical center of the lens? Again, what is happening here? Though the question seems complicated, we'll draw our diagrams and then we'll see what is happening. Now the lens has a power that is positive, so it is definitely a convex lens, isn't it? The magnification is also positive. The magnification is positive only when a virtual image is formed, isn't it? And it is also positive when an erect image is formed. So we have a convex lens and a virtual and erect image is being formed. Something like this is happening, isn't it? The object must be placed between F1 and O and a virtual and erect image is being formed. It is given that the power is 10 diopters. Therefore, the focal length of the convex lens is 1 divided by 10 meters. That is 10 centimeters. You always have to, take care of the unit. Whenever you deal with power, the focal length comes out in terms of meters. And whenever you convert focal length to power, you must use the unit meters. So in this case, 0.1 meters, 1 by 10 meters is the focal length, or 10 centimeters. Now we are given the magnification as +5, isn't it? We have to find the image distance and the object distance. We can use the lens formula. You see, 1 by V minus 1 by U is 1 by F. F is given to be 10 centimeters. We are also given that V by U is 5, isn't it? That is mentioned. The magnification is +5. So we can replace V in this formula by 5U, isn't it? So we can say 1 by 5U minus 1 by U is 1 by 10. The focal length is 10 centimeters. That gives the value of U as -8 centimeters. And it gives us the value of the image distance as 5U. That is -40 centimeters. So there you go. We have obtained the object distance and the image distance with proper sign here. Again, this question appeared complicated at first glance, but all that we did was that we applied the formula for magnification and we applied the lens formula. 1 by V minus 1 by U is 1 by F. So there you go. This is the object. The object distance is 5 centimeters and this is the image. The image distance is 40 centimeters. So that brings us to the end of this chapter related to refraction. Let's now move on to the next chapter.